Hi everyone, Arnold here, santamuertemagic.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. The topic of today's video is going to be secret altars for Santa Muerte devotees. There are many reasons why a devotee might desire to construct a secret Santa Muerte altar or a Santa Muerte altar that can be hidden in plain sight. Maybe you are a devotee who lives with people who do not approve of your death devotion. Maybe you are just exploring death devotion, so you're not ready to commit to a public display of your relationship with Santa Muerte. Maybe you are just an introvert who does not want the kind of attention that might come with building a regular altar. Or maybe you are interested in building a Santa Muerte altar for your workspace, something you can build that would serve your purposes as a devotee without attracting negative attention from colleagues or clients. Whatever the reasons for wanting to keep a low profile, this video will provide some practical tips and advice for building a Santa Muerte altar that does not look like a Santa Muerte altar. I have said it before and I'll say it again, there is nothing you need to be a devotee of Santa Muerte. To be a devotee of Santa Muerte is to form a relationship with her, and a relationship with Santa Muerte, just like a relationship with a fellow human being, is formed and maintained in the heart. And the absence of any physical object, the absence of an altar, does not cancel that relationship. A true relationship of love, a true relationship of devotion, can survive and thrive even when there is nothing else, even when there are no resources or no personal space to build an altar. To consider yourself a devotee of Santa Muerte, all you have to do is make the decision in your heart that you are a devotee, that you wish to build your relationship with Santa Muerte, which is another way of saying that you wish to acknowledge Santa Muerte and you wish to honor and remember the ever-present nature of death in your life. Now, this being said, if you are able to build a Santa Muerte altar, if that is how you choose to express your devotion, whether it's a regular altar or a secret altar, I have a few general notes I want you to consider. First of all, there is no rule about how big your altars should be. I have seen altars that fit inside small portable boxes, and I have seen altars that take up entire rooms in homes. Your altar can be as big or as small as you like. Many people have different rules about what should go on an altar, about what should not go on an altar, about how high an altar should stand, whether or not it is okay for the altar to touch the ground. Personally, one of my core beliefs, one of the pillars of Santa Muerte devotion on which I base all of my other expressions of devotion is, if Santa Muerte accepts us all, then she must accept us all no matter how we choose to build and maintain our altars. I do think, however, that at the very least, even if only to satisfy your subconscious mind and to feel as if you have created something that could be classified as a Santa Muerte altar, as an altar to holy death, then at a very minimum you should have some symbol or representation of death as the anchor or centerpiece of your altar. For many people, that representation of death will take the form of a Santa Muerte altar statue, a statue of some size depicting Santa Muerte in all her glory, with her skeleton face and her bony hand clutching a scythe, perhaps the scales of justice in her other bony hand, a robe of a certain color wrapped around her body, etc., etc. While that is the most common anchor for a Santa Muerte altar, I do not think it is the only anchor that you could use, because remember that Santa Muerte is more than a skeleton in a cloak holding a scythe. Santa Muerte is death itself, and death presents itself to each of us in different forms. Death can be both an end and a beginning. Death can be feared and it can be welcomed. Death can be sudden and it can be slow approaching. So there are many ways to view death. Likewise, there are many ways to represent death on a Santa Muerte altar. And if your intent is to create a secret altar, a Santa Muerte altar that hides in plain sight, then you can use depictions of death other than Santa Muerte to anchor and create your altar. A common altar anchor that I have seen that is not the literal depiction of Santa Muerte is a replica skull, maybe something made out of plastic or plaster that resembles a life-sized or a miniature human skull. If you have something decorated with a skull, even something like a cute or cartoonish skull, then you can use that as the anchor for your altar to holy death. Maybe you have a diary with a picture of a sugar skull on the cover, for example. Maybe you have something like a Jolly Roger, commonly known as a pirate flag, just a black flag bearing the image of the skull and crossbones. Maybe there is a sports team or a business you know of that incorporates the image of a skull into their logo. You can use something depicting that logo as the basis for your secret altar. If you're into comic books, you can use something bearing the image of the old skull logo for the Punisher, that vigilante from the Marvel Comics. I used to have a faux leather wallet with the Punisher's logo on it, so it was all black with a picture of the white skull that the Punisher would wear on his chest. If I was looking to create a secret altar to Santa Muerte, I might just place that wallet in some corner of my room and treat it as the foundation for my secret altar. If the image of a skull is still too taboo for you, then you can use something that represents a symbol associated with Santa Muerte as an altar anchor or a centerpiece. So Santa Muerte is often depicted with an hourglass, she is often depicted with an owl, she is often depicted with a globe, she is often depicted with the scales of justice. If you can find a small figurine or a model of any one of these symbols, then you can use that as the foundation of a secret altar, because they are symbols commonly associated with Santa Muerte. Other items that could form the foundation for a secret altar to holy death could be something like animal skulls, or even something like a small dead plant, or perhaps a bowl of dead leaves you pick up off the ground from beneath a tree in autumn. These too are symbols of death because they are things that death has actually touched, and they can serve as a wonderful anchor for an altar dedicated to Santa Muerte. Now, when you interact with your secret altar, you would basically interact with it the same way you would interact with a regular Santa Muerte altar. So if I was building a secret altar anchored by maybe an hourglass, or perhaps anchored by that faux leather wallet I mentioned earlier with the logo of the skull, I might put a small glass of water to one side of the anchor and maybe a small tea candle on the other. Drinks and candles are commonly found on Santa Muerte altars, and there is no reason you cannot incorporate them into a secret altar as well. I could leave a single cigarette next to these items, or perhaps a small collection of coins to represent offerings to Santa Muerte. I could burn incense in this area. I would go to that place, my secret altar, to meditate on death, to offer prayers to Santa Muerte, to reflect on my devotion, and even to make magical petitions. And if I was away from that space, or if somebody were to walk in and see that sacred space, it would look like nothing more than a collection of random odds and ends that probably wouldn't be given a second thought, which is exactly the point of a secret altar. With that, I think I'll start wrapping up the video. Basically, if you are looking to build a Santa Muerte altar that allows you to express your Santa Muerte devotion without attracting what you perceive as negative attention, then building a secret Santa Muerte altar is a good way to do it. An altar to Santa Muerte does not have to have the literal Santa Muerte as its anchor or as its centerpiece. Any depiction of death, such as a skull or a piece of something that has actually died, can serve as the foundation for a Santa Muerte altar and can create a space just as beautiful, just as magical as a regular Santa Muerte altar. Ultimately, your altar is your space, and your altar is a tool to express your devotion. So do not be afraid to experiment. Do not be afraid to make it your own. whether you can do that openly with a regular Santa Muerte altar, or you have to do it in secret with a secret Santa Muerte altar. As always, I hope I've explained everything clearly, but if not, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can get in touch with me through the contact form on the website. There's also the Patreon messenger system and the Discord chat server. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, bye.